Another night here at JKR Builds. We are back on the Triumph Spitfire, taking a little break from the Viper over there. I'm waiting for a couple parts for that. I want to wrap the exhaust pipes on that, so I'm waiting for some stainless steel ties for that. So while we were working on the Viper, I ended up ordering a Weber downdraft 2-barrel carburetor and aluminum intake for the old Spitty here. So what we're going to be doing is taking off the carb, the old intake. Oh, I just remembered, I actually ordered a header. That's up on the wall. That came in about 2 weeks ago. So we're doing a header, aftermarket aluminum intake, and a Weber 2-barrel downdraft carburetor. So that's where we're at now on the old Spitty. Where it at? Here it is. Little Weber 2-barrel carb kit, distributed by Redline. It looks. Let's see what we got going on in here, boys. Just when I thought Christmas was over with, it's not over for me yet. Looks pretty nice. Not too shabby dabby. Thought it'd be a little bigger than that, but probably not. Being a little 4-banger. Here's our aluminum intake. Pretty cool. Kind of sits on there like that. Somehow got my chrome air cleaner that's gonna go on top. And it looks like it came with all the fittings and everything I need, so looks like that's about it in the whole package here. So I think that's gonna look pretty sweet. I did get the old Spitfire running, but it just never worked right with the carburetor, and I do believe you get a little bit more horsepower out of this, not much, but just easier to work on and adjust. So we'll go ahead and we'll start ripping off the old one and see if we can not get this fit up on there, huh? Alright, this is going to be my first rodeo here with this Spitfire. Never owned one, never really paid much attention to them, how they work or run or anything, so a little bit different, but don't seem too bad. So we'll end up disconnecting all the hoses and the throttle here first, I guess, and we'll see if we can get that carb off with the intake. Hopefully the bolts will come out of the block nice and easy. Not sure, they look a little rusty, but not bad. Oh, it looks like all this throttle cable mechanism here is on a bracket, so we should be able to just take this whole bracket off here. See what that does for us. Just like that. We'll just lay that over there on top of the distributor. We don't need that right now. Alright, looks like we can go ahead and start taking off these intake here. Oh, that ain't too bad. Uh-oh. Oh, that one's on there pretty good. I'm going to want to throw some heat on there, I do believe. I don't want to break that bolt off. Let's see if we can get some torch heat up in there. We're cooking now. Get some oil or see if that'll suck in or something for us. Oh my gosh, that don't feel good at all, boys. I'm gonna have to work at that one for a little bit here. Well, I got some bad news, boys. I put heat on that front header bolt there and kept working it back and forth, and I sure did. I worked it right back and forth where it broke right off in the block. So that'll be interesting. what we'll try to do probably to get that out, I think I am going to have a 1/2 inch of stud sticking out of the block there, so I'm going to go ahead and weld a nut on there and hopefully run it out with the new nut welded on the broken stud. So. But so far the rest are coming out pretty good here. Nothing too crazy. Going pretty smooth. Kind of weird how it's set up. They have these little nibber knobbers here that hold on to the intake and the header. Kind of like a vice grip setup, right? Like a vice, I guess. Okay, we're just gonna go ahead and drop this cap down. We'll just kind of drop it right down on the ground like that ratchet that just fell there on the ground. And that'll be out of our way. I didn't know I was getting ahead for this so quickly, so there we go. I don't know where that ratchet went. Looks like up front there. Alright. Let me see, I got that stud off. I think that's all the studs I see for the intake. Well, maybe not. Not really sure how this comes off. Man, feels like there's more bolts in there or something. Alright, we're having fun now. After prying on it a few times here, I found out that there's 2 nuts down in here, and you really can't get to them. So you just gotta kind of snake a wrench in there. Keep spinning your wrench, turn that. Can't get a socket or nothing on it, so it's gonna take a while. There's one on this side and one back on this side, back over here, so yeah, so that should take me about a good 30 minutes to get those 2 off. Well, that's what I figured on them last 2 bolts there underneath the manifold. 30 minutes, that's about what it took. Let's see if we can squeeze this off here now. And a front stud that I broke. Oh, there it goes. Oh, we got her now. Woo! Look at that big honker. Alright. That wasn't too awful bad. Just didn't quite understand how it worked, but yeah. Gonna definitely have to order a new gasket here. Then not sure, but I hope I can weld a nut on that stud to get that stud up out of that head, hopefully. Alright guys, as you can see, I broke that stud off in my head there that held on my intake. At least I got a good 1/2 inch sticking out there. What I'm gonna try and do is, a lot of guys will grind that flat and they'll try it easy out. But what I like to go for first is I like to heat that up, throw some oil on it, penetrating oil, and a few times cycles. And then what we'll do is we'll weld a nut on there, and we'll see if we can get the nut to turn that out. So we'll just let that heat up for a moment there. We'll probably do this about 3 to 4 or 5 times. We're just heating it up. Actually, I want to get more on the block. There. Then what we like to do is put penetrating oil on that, let it cool down. And then after about 3 or 4 times, we'll weld a nut on the end of that, and we'll see if we can not turn that out. It's been a while, but I like to try this first because if you grind that flat, I don't know. I don't have good luck with the easy outs. Maybe I get a little cheaper easy outs. I can't remember the brand I get or what, but then we'll spray that with a little bit of oil. Get some smoke rolling. But yeah, we'll do that about 3 or 4 more times. Then we'll weld the nut on there and we'll see if we can not run that out. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. We're gonna hit that baby again. Get some heat up in there. We'll see if we can spray some penetrate oil in there, and hopefully it'll suck that into the threads, into the head, and hopefully loosen it up. I got a couple more times I'm gonna do this. See if we can not run it out with a nut welded on me, hopefully. Then I'm going to have to look up, see if I can find another stud, or maybe I can just put a regular bolt in there. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to take a look, and I haven't really looked at it, see what kind of studs there yet, but I'll take a look. And yeah, we'll do this a few more times and we'll get that nut welded on there. We'll see if we can not get that baby pulled off. Okay, I ended up heating up that head there around that broken stud about 5 times. Put penetrating oil on it. Let it cool down for about 5 minutes. Then I did that about 3 or 4 times. So what I'm going to do now is I'll take my torch, try to burn all the excess lubrication off there. Then we'll clean that up with a grinder so we can get a good weld on that. And hopefully we can pull that baby out. All the studs look pretty good, but that one is rough. Alright. We'll go ahead and clean that up a little bit here. What I'm going to try and do is hammer down a little bit. Where's my hammer? There's hammer time. Alright, I think I'm going to stop right there. I think if we put this right there on that stud, I think that's going to get us going good. I think I'm going to take some aluminum foil and put in them ports just to make sure that we don't get no excess weld splatter down in there. That's the last thing we want. A little hot yet. A little hot yet, boys. Gotta watch the old frickin' fingers. We'll do one more hole. Alright. Let's see what all we do here. Gonna want to burn that red hot. Get a good penetration on there. Wish me luck, boys. Here we go. Okay. Filled the end of that. Kind of wanted to get some weld in behind it, but I don't think that's going to happen. So Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and let that cool down, because it's cherry red hot. And I think I'm going to heat up around that stud one more time, hit with penetrating oil, and we'll see if we can not crank that baby up. Alright, it's been about 3-4 minutes since I welded that nut in there. I was going to heat up the head one more time and hit with the penetrating oil, and then I'm like, let's just see if we can put a wrench on there, see if we can turn it or not. Oh yeah, look at that. Turn, boys. Oh, look at that. We got her. We're just gonna keep going back and forth and working it, finesse it. Oh, look at that. That is awesome. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, it's getting real easy. Paid off. Now, it took me about 30 minutes to get this happening, but like I said, I put my torch on it for probably a minute to 2 minutes, pulled the torch off, hit with penetrating oil, get a lot of smoke, but let it pull that penetrating oil into the threads. Then I would wait 5 minutes, then I would redo that cycle again about 5 times. Then I let it cool off for 5 minutes, welded that nut on. Look at that. Comes right out, boys. And I waited about 5 minutes, welded that nut on, and look. We got ourselves a broken stud right on out. That's a win, boys. Win-win. But yeah, that's how you get a stud out of the block, the head, block, whatever. But now we can go ahead and continue on and get the aftermarket Weber carburetor on and the aluminum intake. So sweet. Alright, I ended up getting that stud out. Got lucky. It was a win for me. I appreciate it. Let's see what we got in the box. We got some rubber holes. We got our 2-barrel downdraft carb. This is what I'm looking for is our aluminum intake. What we're going to do is we're going to do a test fit for the intake and the header, just to make sure it all fits up to the head correctly. So we'll check that out. Okay, grab this header here. Let's see how this fits down in there. Kinda does. Look too bad. Again, I had to drive 20 miles to your family farm and home store to get a head bolt. I guess it'd be a header bolt for the head. Alright, that looks like that's a pretty good fit right there. We'll try the intake here. See how this works. And that does not want to fit. It's real close. Looks like it's hitting in front of the head here, or the header. That is really thick, so I can grind this or I can grind the header. I can go either way. I think what I'll do is I'll end up doing the header. I'll grind that down. Alright, we have to do a little bit of grindage on there. Take some of that down. Alright, we'll try that. See what happens. See how we did here. Oh, look at that. Oh, wait a minute. I should probably put this bolt in first, actually. I'm thinking, oh yeah, it fits perfect. There's a sag down right there. Alright. Now it's probably not going to fit perfect. Actually, it does. Alright, that's all we needed to do. We're good to go ahead and mount that now. What I'll do is, oh, I got a gasket scraper somewhere around here. I'll find it. I'll scrape that off nice and clean. Put a gasket on it. I went to my local Walmart, got ultra black silicone, so that should do it for us. Alright, I just got done scraping the old gasket all off. We're ready for the new gasket and the header and the intake. So I think I'm gonna do is I ended up getting some ultra black here silicone. Usually I don't silicone these gaskets on, but this one I am because the casting on the header and the intake, they're not bad, they're not perfect, and the main reason is the gasket here is really thin. I don't know why that is, but this gasket looks a lot thinner than normal. So what we'll do is we'll put some silicone on there. We'll get that glued on there and see what we can do. Alright. We'll test fit this gasket. Not sure what way it goes. Probably doesn't matter. It's usually just your head gaskets, right? Actually, that gasket doesn't feel too bad. It looked thinner in the pack, but actually it's kind of thick. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and do some of that black silicone around here anyways, just for the fun of it. The way this motor's set up, how it holds the header and the intake on with these little spinner washer things. I want to make sure I get a good seal on everything, so I'm not going crazy. Looks like I'm going thick, but really I'm not. It's kind of thin, just dabbing it a little bit. And that way we'll know we have a good seal. Don't want no vacuum intake leaks. Then you get high revs and you can never tune the carb in, so. Alright, we'll try that. So that's gonna go on there just like so. There we go. Guess I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do first. I should be able to put the header on next, I do believe. Okay, let's see if we can get this header up on here. Went to family farm and home today. Got me another header bolt. The one I got yesterday just ended up being too long, so I had to go back and get a shorter one. So what I think I'm gonna do is kind of leave those loose until I get that intake in there. Yeah, that one's not going to go in all the way neither. We needed a shorter one yet. Alright. Well, we'll see what we can do with it. We'll just put double up washers for tonight to tighten that up. Then your intake. Then these screwy little nuts, just like so. I don't know what you call those. It's kind of a weird setup, like a diamond. And if I remember right, they went on an angle like so. And now I'm finding washers. I'm sure there was washers on behind there. Hopefully the underneath ones we can get to those easy. I had one a heck of a time trying to get those out with the stock intake and exhaust manifold. Alright, so it should go something like that. That one go there. Kind of a weird setup, but hey, it works. So what we want to do is make sure that's kind of on the header and the intake. Just like so, and then that one should go like that. Alright, now I gotta try to get on the bottom there. See if we can not get the bottom ones in. Alright, what I ended up doing is doing the old switcheroo. I took the long nut that was on the bottom, put it on top, put the small nut on the bottom, so it just gave me just enough clearance. Now I'm not sure if I'll clear the carb. If not, we'll have to take that stud out and we'll have to put a regular nut in there. There we go. Alright, now we're ready for the sucker. Looks like everything clears pretty good. Only thing is I gotta remember to get a different bolt for that header up front, because I ended up getting too long one again. I can try it, but I doubt it. Yeah, it's bottom out already, so we're gonna have to get a shorter one of those. Okay, I got the old carburetor here. The old sucker. Let me see what we want to do here. This is my first rodeo, so alright. Those are gonna go down like that. I'm gonna put a little blue Loctite on the studs. Ooh. Alright, maybe a little bit more than what I'm thinking, but this way it'll hold them in good. Alright, now our gasket. Some of that blue off there. Don't care to get blue Loctite for gasket sealer. We don't want to do that. Alright, gasket. Carb. That. Looking good, looking good. Alright, we're looking at this piece here. I had to look in the paperwork because this is my first rodeo, like I said. I couldn't figure out what this part was for. Looked like it went underneath the carb, but it doesn't. It actually goes underneath the manifold up underneath here. And that's for your original coolant line. And if you remember right, in a few videos back, I actually ended up doing a block off on that. So we do not need that piece. So we're going to bypass that piece. We can go ahead and bolt our carburetor right down to the intake. And we'll continue moving on. Alright, on the back side of the carb, we got to get the throttle bracket on. Can't forget that. That's just going to go over the existing studs. That comes with your kit, so that way they'll relocate the stock throttle cable for us. So. Okay, according to the paperwork, it looks like you want to take your old throttle cable out of the old throttle linkage bracket here. Just like that. Throw that out there. Oh, ouch. Hurt my ears. Don't need that. Then we're going to run this right through there. Alrighty, what I'm working on is trying to hook up this throttle cable to this arm here. And I keep looking at the paperwork. It doesn't really make no, doesn't really tell you how to do it. I found out this, the end of the cable fits in these holes. And then it came with this lever arm. It doesn't matter where you put this lever arm on, it won't even reach. So what I think I'm going to do is run that cable right into the end here. Then I'm going to take this bracket that they sent me for no reason and cut that down and sandwich it in there just like that and run a weld across there. That way it'll move nice and easy. So that's the idea. We're going to try that. Alright, I ended up cutting the end off and just welding it on there. So let me see, we'll put that back together. I'm not sure when I ordered this if I was missing pieces or not, but according to the paperwork I'm not, so we'll just snug it like that. I'll put some blue Loctite on that. Now what we want to do is make sure this is, yeah, okay, I didn't think that was opening all the way. So all you gotta do is stick your screwdriver in there, spread that a little bit. Got her now. There. I like that. It's gonna work out great. Adjustment will go somewhere right there, and that's gonna do it right there, boys. I'm liking it. So now it's pointing on both sides of the brackets. That's what we want. So what we're gonna have to do now is, I'm kind of ahead of myself, I'm gonna have to cut this video off. It's getting a little crazy long, and what I need to do is get underneath the car. I put the fusel in the Bosch fuel pump, but I never ran the wires for the electric fuel pump or ran the fuel lines. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to jump off this, get onto the gas lines, the fuel tank, finish hooking that up. And I'll come back to this where we'll tune it and we'll go ahead and try to start it. So again, thanks to you guys for watching. We appreciate you, and we'll see you.